Would the clerk call the roll? Clerk, close the roll.
You have a quorum, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. All right. Good morning, everyone. Maybe we can kind of go over the way that we plan to go. In this committee, I think most of you know that we work very closely with the majority and the minority and try to make sure that we are not only treating everyone right, but that there's agreement on the processes, and that's worked very well. A couple of items. One, we do use, and we will not have to use today much, if any, we use a clock in here, and we're very committed to our clock, and it's not any disrespect to anyone, but we have a lot of bills, and we work our way through it. So if you do get put on a 3-minute clock, we will really like you for 3 minutes, and then we will ask that you just have everyone else express where they stand on that bill. A couple other items. One, we are going to go through the identical bills and the similar bills. It is my understanding that on all of the similar bills, we're basically, we've gone through them, and I think we're going to take the Senate position, and we're going to give those bills back to you. One bill, 1473, will need to go upstairs. And then we will have our education and health professions subcommittees. And when we do, if you come out of there with a strong vote, you don't need to come to this committee. If it ends up being a problem, we will let you know. So that's kind of where we are today. So with that, I think we will begin with our identical bills. We are going to have to go through these individually because not all of them were unanimous votes. So if you're on this list, if you pay attention, we're going to run through these. So on the identical list, there is HB 779, which is the Norfolk City School Board salary. That's identical to Senator Spruill. Is there a motion and a second on that bill? There's a motion and a second that HB 779 be reported. All those in favor will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. And the clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 15, noes 0.
Ayes 15, no 0. The bill is reported. There's also the chairman of the HWI committee, which is Delegate Orrock, has 878. That's identical to McDougall's bill related to Class 4 drugs. Is there a motion and a second on that bill? There's a motion and a second that that bill be reported. All those in favor will record your votes aye. Those opposed, no. And the clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 15, nays 0.
15 to 0, that bill is reported. Next up is the Military Medical Personnel Program, which is identical to Barker's. This is a Delegate Stolley bill. You're all good with this, George, right? So with that, there's a motion and a second that we report 915. All those in favor of that, I think we need to close the other roll. Okay? All in favor of that will record your votes aye. Those opposed, no. And the clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 15, nays 0.
15 to 0, the bill passes. Next up is a bill that's identical to Senator Ebbins' bill. That is House Bill 1114, related to occupational regulation and revoking of license. We've had some adjustments to this bill back and forth, but we feel very comfortable with the Senate version. Is there a motion? Is there a motion second that the bill be reported? All those in favor will record your votes aye. Those opposed, no. And the clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 15, nays 0.
15 to 0. The next one is the death certificates, which is Senator Cosgrove, your bill. All's good there? It is. And there's a motion and a second on that bill, 1158. There's a motion and a second that the bill be reported. All those in favor will record your votes aye. Those opposed, no. And the bill is reported. Next up is 1173, which is part of the opioid package, which this one is identical to Senator Donovan. Is there a motion? There's a motion and a second that that bill be reported. All those in favor will record your votes aye. Those opposed, no. And the clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 15, nays 0.
15 to 0, the bill is reported. Next up is House Bill 1181, which is identical to my bill related to chancellors on the board for the Virginia Online Authority. Is there a motion on that bill? There's a motion and a second that that bill be reported. All those in favor will record your votes aye. Those opposed, no. And the clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 15, nays 0.
15-0, that bill is reported. Next up is House Bill 1251, which is the CBD oils and dispensing. And we have been looking at that bill, and Senator Donovan probably needs to take a look at that one, so that bill, without objection, will go by temporarily. Next up is House Bill 1375, the Mental Health Professions Bill. This is, Barker, similar to yours or same as yours. There's a motion and a second that that bill be reported. All those in favor will record your votes aye. Those opposed, no. And the clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 15, nays 0.
15-0, the bill is reported. Up next is House Bill 1430, related to emergency management plans. This is, Mr. Lewis, the identical to yours. Are you good with how we are here, sir? All right, there's a motion and a second that the bill be reported. That's 1430. All those in favor will record your votes aye. Those opposed, no. And the clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 15, nays 0.
15-0, the bill is reported. Next up is a bill that's identical to your bill, Senator Carrico. You feel good about where we are on that related to prescription drug monitoring. And there is a motion and a second that that bill be reported. All those in favor will record your votes aye. Those opposed, no. It is bill number 1556. Senator Lotkin. The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 15, nays 0.
15-0, the bill is reported. Next is House Bill 1198, which is the one we worked on with Senator Pike related to stroke centers. Designation of hospital. Is there a motion on that bill? Motion is second that that bill be reported. All those in favor will record your votes aye. Those opposed, no. And the clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 14, nays 1.
Ayes 14, noes 1, and the bill is reported. Okay. Okay, so Senator Donovan, returning, if you will, to Senate Bill 1251, you interested in an emergency clause on that bill? Is that what I understand?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, the governor has asked for an emergency clause, and I'm amenable to that.
Okay, so just so you slow down enough, this is 1251 related to the CBD oils, and we have, I think, worked it out with courts. They're okay with all that. There's a motion and a second that the amendment for the emergency clause be reported. All those in favor will say aye. Opposed, no. And the amendment's agreed to. Is there a motion on the bill as amended? There's a motion and a second that 1251 be reported as amended. All those in favor will record your votes aye. Those opposed, no. Janet, twice. Again. One more time. Ding. All right, and the bill is reported. Clerk, close your roll.
Yeas 15, nays 0.
15-0, the bill is reported. Okay. What we'll do now is we will go to the bills that are similar, and just to let those of you who came in late, we've looked at all these bills, and we'll see what the committee thinks, but I think some of us like our version a little bit, so we might make some amendments to do that, and then we'll move along. So, Tom, we'll kind of go through these. You tell us where we need any amendments. On House Bill 155, is there a motion to conform that bill to the Donovan bill? So motion is second that that bill be conformed. It's the other opioid bill to the Senate version. All those in favor will say aye. Opposed, no. And the bill is conformed. Is there a motion on the bill as amended? So motion is second that House Bill 155 be reported as amended. All those in favor will record your votes aye. Those opposed, no. And the clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 15, nays 0.
Ayes 15, no 0. And the next bill is House Bill 313. Senator Donovan, we're going to conform that to your bill that related to prescription monitoring. Is that okay with everyone? There's a motion and a second that the bill be conformed. All those in favor will say aye. Opposed, no. And the bill's conformed. There's a motion on the bill. There's a motion and a second that House Bill 313 be reported as amended. All those in favor will record your votes aye. Those opposed, no. And the clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 15, nays 0.
15-0, the bill is reported. Next up is the healthcare providers informed consent bill that we worked on in here. The bill is 778. That's close to Senator McPike's bill. Is there a motion that we conform that bill to the Senate version? This motion is second that 778 be conformed. We good, Tom? All those in favor will say aye. Opposed, no, and the bill is conformed. There's motion and second that the bill be reported as amended. All those in favor will record your votes aye. Those opposed, no, and the bill, clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 15, nays 0.
15-0, the bill is reported. Next up is the version that we all worked on for Senator Chafin's bill. It's 1174. Small differences here, but if we could just have a motion. There's a motion and a second that bill be conformed to the Senate version. All those in favor will say aye. Opposed, no, and the bill is conformed. At 1174, a motion and a second to that bill be reported. All those in favor will record your votes aye. Those opposed, no, and the clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 15, nays 0.
15-0, the bill's reported. Next up is House Bill 1197. That's the stroke care bill. And again, Senator McPike had that, and there was a motion. Second, we conform Delegate Garrett's bill to Senator McPike's bill. All those in favor of conforming will say aye. Opposed, no, and the bill's conformed. There's a motion and second that the bill be reported as amended. That's 1197. All those in favor will record your votes aye. Those opposed, no. Donovan, and the clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 15, nays 0.
15-0, the bill is reported. Next up is House Bill 1265. This is the bill that's similar to my bill. There's a substitute that is coming forward. Is there a motion? Well, let me tell you what the substitute does. Is there a motion on the substitute? Motion is second that the substitute be agreed to. What the substitute does is that we've been talking to a lot of the interest groups, and the substitute basically more clearly prescribes what is to be taught in the colleges and universities related to dyslexia. We had kind of left that open a little bit. This has the coursework that goes to the newest science, and also ask them to have some practicum work as well. Is there comfort with that?
Move the substitute.
All right, there's motion is second that the substitute be agreed to. All those in favor will say aye. Those no, and the substitute's agreed to. If everyone understands that bill, is there a motion on the bill as amended? There's a motion and a second that the bill, that being 1265, be reported as amended in form of a substitute. All those in favor will record your votes aye. Those opposed, no, and the clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 15, no 0.
15-0, the bill is reported. Slowing down just a little bit, we had a pretty good discussion. We're not going to have the same discussion here in regards to the Peterson bill. This is the one that has the higher education institutions having public comment. It is 1473 when they're going to increase fees, so they're allowing the public comment. I will tell you that Finance, like they did on the Senate bill, has requested that it go upstairs. Senator Peterson, you have a motion on that bill? There's a motion and a second that we conform 1473 to Peterson's 824. All those in favor will say aye. Opposed, no. And the bill is conformed. Senator Peterson.
Mr. Chair, I know you've made a motion to report and refer to finance, and let me just say I'm going to vote against that motion, not because I don't support this. I do support it. I'm afraid a vote to refer to finance will effectively kill the bill, and this bill came easily out of the House. It really should be the law, so that will be my no vote.
Senator Peterson, I appreciate that. And I just got to tell you, when it went to finance, I voted yes. I know there's pressure not to. This is a good bill, and I think we ought to do this. But we do have the traditions on what we do when finance asks for them, and so I'm going to vote for it upstairs, and I'm hoping that everyone else will. It just seems to me, if you'll forgive me for speaking about it, that if you're going to have a public university that's going to raise public money from the public, that it makes sense to have a public hearing. So that's the reason why I supported Senator Peterson's bill
Chairman.
here and otherwise. Yes.
I'm also voting against it, but not because it's a good bill, but because I think it's a really unfortunate bill.
All right.
Oh, so you don't like the bill. I understand. I'm slow, but I'm finally catching up, so I got it. Okay. There's a motion and a second that the bill be reported and re-referred to finance. All those in favor will record your votes aye. Those opposed, no. And the clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 14, nays 1.
Ayes 14, noes 1. The bill is reported and re-referred to the Committee on Finance. Thank you, Senator Peterson, for that. Okay. Next up is Delegate. Well, let's do this. Let's go to the subcommittee reports. Senator Carrico, are you kind of prepared to do that? And here again, we enjoy having all you House members here, but if things are in good shape, which today is hopefully good shape day, next week may not be good shape day, today things should go okay. So Senator Carrico.
Mr. Chairman, starting with House Bill 81, this is a bill that gives another 6 months for search committees to look for a divisional superintendent, and it reported 5-0, and I'd so move.
Second. All right, there's a motion and a second that the bill be reported. All those in favor will record your votes aye. Those opposed, no. And clerk will close the roll.
Yeas 15, nays 0.
15-0, the bill's reported. Senator Carrico, do you mind if HB 329 just goes by just temporarily?
Both 329 and 330 have to go by. He's chairing a committee right now.
Perfect, that's even better. So the HB 329 and 330 will go by, would you mind if we said for the day?
I told him that we would take it by for the day.
Perfect, perfect.
That way
That's
he doesn't have to leave his committee.
good. We need to do a little more work there. So without objection, House Bill 329 and 330 will go by for the day. Senator Carrico.
House Bill 399, it reported on a 5-0 vote. This requires each school board to implement a plan that notifying the students and their parents of available internships, apprenticeships, and credentialing programs, certificate programs, and licensing programs on work-based learning experience. And it reported on 5-0 vote, and I'd so move.
Motion is second that that bill be reported. All those in favor will record your votes aye. Those opposed, no. And the clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 15, nays 0.
Ayes 15, no 0. The bill's reported. Senator Carrico.
Next was House Bill 442. This required the Department of Education to develop and maintain and make available to each local school board a catalog for testing and accommodations available in English language learners for certifications, examinations, and assessments. The bill requires that each local school board to develop and implement policies to require each high school principal to, or its designee to notify each English language learner the availability of such testing and accommodations prior to the student's participation. And the bill has a delayed effective date of July 2019. It was reported on 5-0 vote, and I'd so move.
Motion is second that House Bill 442 be reported. All those in favor will record your votes aye. Those opposed, no. And the clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 15, nays 0.
15-0, the bill's reported. Senator Carrico.
Next one, House Bill 507. There was discussion on this bill for, this basically is a standard quality instructional program position for dual languages for students with limited English proficiencies. And it may include dual language programs for such students to receive instructions in English and a second language. The bill was a 4-1 vote. I was the no vote. There, in this bill, would be an additional full-time equivalent instructional position. By adding that full-time instructional position, not sure what the impact would be, and not sure if we would need to send it to finance.
It does need to go to finance if we do report it, but so this bill was reported 4-0, 4-1.
Mr.
Are
Chair.
you, well,
Hi.
welcome.
Hi, Delegate Mullen. Good to see you, Mr. Chair. I will say that the actual language of this says may include dual language. It is not a
Okay.
requirement. This is not including an additional full-time instructional
Great.
position. This would be giving those who would like to be able to have the option, such
Okay.
as
Great. Where are you from?
Williamsburg and Newport News.
Oh, very nice. Good to see you.
Good
Thanks
to
for
see you as
coming
well.
by.
Thank
So,
you very much.
there are some that are in favor and some that are opposed, but I understand there's a motion and second the bill be reported and referred to finance. All those in favor will record your votes aye. Those opposed, no.
Oh, sorry.
And the clerk will close the roll. Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Ayes 11, nays 4.
11 to 4, and the bill is reported and referred to finance. Thank you for coming, Delegate. Next up is a bill that there is no recommendation on. Is Delegate O'Quinn here? Mr. Chairman, do you want to
If I
have
can
him here?
explain a little bit.
Okay.
There was a discussion about it. There were
Yeah.
several questions raised. The patron wasn't there, so there was no recommendation. This bill would allow the display of commercial advertising material on a school bus. And I just didn't want to take the bill up without the patron being here to explain
I think
where the
there's-
money goes,
Yep.
how they receive it, and so forth.
So I think there's concern about the bill. It doesn't mean it's in trouble, but I think it's only fair, Mr. Chairman, I think you're right, that we have this delegate come down. So if he's somewhere in the neighborhood, maybe we have it go by temporarily, have a little bit of a discussion about it, and it'll work out fine. So that'll go by temporarily. If Chairman, you okay with that?
I agree.
Okay. Motion, without objection, 809 will go by temporarily. Senator Donovan, you or Sudaline doing yours? Okay, now we'll move to the Health Professions Subcommittee. David, you have your report.
Yes, Mr. Chairman. The first bill we considered was House Bill 322 from Delegate Bourne, dealing with who at the Department of Corrections can possess and administer naloxone or other opioid antagonist. After a training program, we recommended report of that bill on a 6-0 vote.
All right, and there's a motion and a second that House Bill 322 be reported. All those in favor will record your votes aye. Those opposed, no. And the clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 15, nay 0.
15 to 0, the bill is reported. Senator Suderline.
House Bill 501 from Delegate Hodges, who's a pharmacist, which is relevant to this, required every hospice to develop policies and procedures for the disposal of drugs dispensed as part of their hospice care, and it went through how they would do that. There wasn't a lot of, no one expressed concern from the public or any stakeholders, but there were some questions, and I think using it as a marker to follow up on those questions, it was recommended to report on a 3-1 vote.
Okay. All right, everyone understand the bill? All right, there's a motion and a second that 501 be reported. All those in favor will record your votes aye. Those opposed, no. And the clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 15, nay 0.
15 to 0, the bill is reported. Senator Suderline.
House Bill 520, also from Delegate Hodges, we recommended report on that on 5-0 vote.
All right, this is 520. There's a motion and a second that the third-party logistics bill passed. All those in favor will record your votes aye. Those opposed, no. And the clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 15, nay 0.
Ayes 15, nay 0 on 520. Senator Suderline.
House Bill 842 from Delegate LaRocque, dealing with the use of naloxone through and similar products through needles and our policies on that. We had a lot of good discussion. It was all in support of the policy prescribed here, and we recommended report on a 5-0 vote.
There's a motion and a second that 842 be reported. All those in favor will record your votes aye. Those opposed, no. And the clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 15, nay 0.
Ayes 15, no 0. The bill's reported. Senator Suderline.
House Bill 854 from Delegate Peace. That one had very little contention as well, and we recommended report on a 6-0 vote.
All right, on House Bill 854, there's a motion and a second that the bill be reported. All those in favor will record your votes aye. Those opposed, no. And the clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 15, nay 0.
15 to 0, the bill is reported. Senator Suderline.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. House Bill 875 from Chairman Orrock. What it does is it increases the quantity of compounded drugs that a veterinarian may dispense. It's currently a 3-day supply. This is for companion animals. It's currently a 3-day supply. This increases it to a full week, a 7-day supply. No one expressed any concerns about the additional 4 days, and we recommended report on a 6-0 vote.
There's a motion and a second that 875 be reported. All those in favor will record your votes aye. Those opposed, no, and the clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 15, nay 0.
15-0, the bill is reported. Senator Sudaline.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. House Bill 1071 from Delegate Heretic. It simply allows for the license renewals to be done electronically by the Board of Funeral Directors and Embalmers, Board of Medicine, and Board of Nursing.
Okay. There's a motion is second that 1071 be reported. All those in favor record your votes aye. Those opposed, no. The bill, and the clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 15, nay 0.
15-0, the bill is reported. Senator Sudaline.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And House Bill 1377 from Delegate Torian. There's a substitute on that. I would move the substitute.
So motion is second that substitute be agreed to. All those in favor will say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Substitute agreed to. Senator Sudaline, do you mind giving us what this substitute does, sir?
Yeah, the substitute just provided a little more clarity for the bill itself that allows the employee of outdoor education organizations or programs that are administered for youth to be able to administer an EpiPen. We had a lot of good discussion from folks involved in those organizations or representing them, why they'd like it. Their biggest concern was not so much things they encounter outdoors, but just because these children often bring snacks with them or small meals, and often there's food allergies related to that, and that's why it needs to be administered.
Okay.
And it's consistent with the policies we've pursued in other places, and we recommended the substitute on a 6-0 vote.
There's a motion is second. I think the committee, I think there is some liability protection in here as well. Is that right?
Yes, so Senator Peterson, listen up. I actually mentioned what would Senator Serval, Senator Peterson, Senator Obenshain think. There is liability protection in the substitute,
Right.
which is consistent with what we've done in every other place we've allowed this.
Thank you, Senator Sudaline. I think the committee needs to know. It's okay. So there's a motion and a second that the bill in the form of a substitute be reported. All those in favor will record your vote aye. Those opposed, no. And the clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 14, nays 0. 1 abstention.
Ayes 14, noes 0. One lawyer abstains. Very good. Okay, with that, Mr. Sudaline, does that complete your report, sir?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Okay, very good. Thank you all. Okay, so if you don't mind, Mr. Chairman, maybe we can take it back to what is House Bill 809. We may just hear from the patron, and then we will have a vote. So, Mr. Carrico, do you mind just giving us a brief update on the bill, and then we'll hear from the patron?
As I said, Mr. Chairman, House Bill 809 was a bill that allowed local school boards to display commercial advertising. It couldn't display any sexual explicit materials, alcohol, food, or beverage that doesn't meet the nutritional standards. The question that began to arise is, where does the money go? Who gets the money, and what's it going to be used for when the advertisements, if they're allowed on the buses? Patron wasn't able to be there. He had another committee he was in, and so we sent it here without a recommendation and asked the patron to be here today.
Well, we're delighted to have you. We're going to give you a couple of minutes on it. There is some thought maybe that we'll look at this for a year. We appreciate you bringing it. It's a first blush for this committee, but we want to hear from you, and then we'll consider what we'll do. But welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So obviously, we're all looking at ways that we can try to increase school funding, ways that preferably, doesn't necessarily have to come from here with taxpayer dollars. And so this is a bill that I've had over on the House side. It makes the second time now. That is a local option. You can do it or not do it. It's up to it's up to the localities. The first year we finally got the parameters narrowed down to where everyone was relatively happy with where those parameters set. Not only with the types of advertising, but where it could be. It's very descriptive in that it can be from the rear wheel to the rear of the bus, and that's it. They've been doing this across the line in Tennessee, which is relatively close to where Senator Carrico and I are, for a while now, and have done it without incident. So we kind of modeled it off of that. And all of that is in subsection 3, starting at line 22. There is an amendment in the nature of a substitute that starts at line 28 that also says that, so we had Fairfax County, for instance, who came to me and said, we don't necessarily want to have commercial advertising. However, we would like to be able to advertise for school bus drivers and do some other things with that would pertain just to our school system. And so the substitute that Ryan has drawn up from 28 to 31 actually would allow for school-related advertising material. As for where the money goes, I felt like that being a local option where you have to take the initiative to do it, at least in my opinion, every school system has slightly different needs, and I don't necessarily want to say you must spend this on A and B when one locality may say, well, that's not a huge problem for us. We would rather spend it over here. And so it was my preference that we leave that up to the school system, but I'm not terribly hung up on that.
Well, Delegate, well done. I do think I understand the bill pretty well. I know there are some that think that at least we should take a look at this before we go down the path on that. We did hear this in subcommittee. We're so sorry that you could not be there, but you've explained it to us well today. Is there a motion on the bill? Move to carry over. All right, there is a motion and a second that the bill be carried over, and without objection, the subject matter, I think, could and should go to our future public education, where we kind of work out these things over the summertime. So there is a motion and second that bill be carried over till next year, and we review the subject matter. All those in favor of the motion will record your votes aye. Those opposed, no. And the clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 11, nays 4.
That's 11 days 4, and so we'll work with you on the subject matter, trying to work it out for next year. Okay?
All right.
Thanks.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, Senator
Before he
Carrico.
leaves, when this committee does convene and talks about the subject matter, depending on what kind of revenues are raised on the advertisement, it may be appropriate to look at how you appropriate this money for replacement of school buses,
Okay.
because that is a huge cost.
So Tom, do you mind capturing that to put it in a letter? That's a great idea. Okay. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Yep. All right. Mr. Carrico, did that complete your report?
That's completed.
Okay. So up next, we do have some bills that are identical that failed. And if you were to categorize both 372 and 1020, they would be school calendar bills that we've seen a form of in the past. Is there a motion second to roll 1020 into 372? There's a motion second that we roll those into the lower number. All those in favor will record your votes aye. Those opposed, no. And the clerk will close the roll. Ayes 15, no 0. We have heard these. As Delegate Robinson, welcome. If you want to give us a primer, I think we get it, but we're so delighted to have you come down and see us.
Well, thank you. It's nice to be here.
You're welcome.
You've heard this bill from me before. This is a school start date bill. I believe it's a locality's option to decide when they get to decide schools. I think we put our own kids across the Commonwealth to a disadvantage because 80 of the 130 plus localities that we have in the state currently allow that waiver due to snow days and all. And so I think it's time that we put all our kids on the same playing field. My bill has a little different caveat to it than rather than just start in any time in August, when they choose to start school. Our kids will definitely be out by Memorial Day, hopefully, so that after SOLs are completed, the kids aren't there for, 3 more weeks and really not doing a whole lot, that they'll be finished with school and they'll start to enjoy their summer. But my bill also it requires a 5-day Labor Day weekend. And the reason I put that in there is because every year tourism stands before us and says how they're going to lose all this money by starting school prior to Labor Day. Any kid who's involved in sports or the band and lots of school activities already is required to be around in August anyway. So I'd like to see us be able to give schools the option to start school prior to the Labor Day and then require that 5-day weekend. And in the bill, it's very specific. They would be required from Thursday through Monday or Friday through Tuesday for that 5-day weekend to allow families to have a little flexibility. Any school system that currently has the waiver will not be required to have that 5-day weekend. We grandfathered them out of that because I know that was some concerns for some of the localities. And that's the bill. That's what it does.
Well, Delegate, thank you very much. And also, if Delegate Adams, would you like to say anything you feel?
Just second that. The patron of the bill that was incorporated.
Great. So, well done. So we've heard this many times. We've heard it a lot this session. Anyone? Yes, would you like to say something?
I'd love to speak in favor of the bill.
Yeah, so what we'll do is we'll put a clock out there and we'll let you speak. We'll put a 2-minute clock and be glad to hear from you.
Thank you. Good morning. My name is Nancy Trainer, and I'm co-chair of the Education Committee for the Fairfax County Federation of Citizens Associations. We strongly support the school calendar bill. I refer you to the testimony you received several years ago from the principal of my brother's alma mater, Jeb Stuart High School, which was considered an underperforming school. The principal said that starting the school year before Labor Day was critical in taking Stuart from a failing school to an award-winning one. This principal was a Virginia and National High School Principal of the Year. So we urge you to help all students with this common sense policy for the Commonwealth. Thank you very much.
It's about a minute and a half, and if you want to state your support.
Vicki Manugo Greco with Norfolk Gaines, Growing and Investing in Norfolk Schools, members of which fully support HB 372. As you all know, there are 1,823 public schools in Virginia. 88 of these schools were denied accreditation this school year. 72% of these underperforming schools, totaling 63, are in the school divisions that are forced to begin instruction after Labor Day. We'd like for our educators and teachers and students to front-load learning at the very end, at the very beginning before the SOL season, testing season begins. We do not want our children watching DVDs at the end of the school year.
Great. Thanks for coming. And you just have about 30 seconds left. Do you want to state your support?
Tom Smith, Superintendent Association. We're in strong support and appreciate Delegate Robinson looking and trying to work through the particulars. We think it's a good bill in which you would pass it on. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, sir. Yes, sir. Welcome.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman. Thank you for the opportunity. Jim Livingston, Virginia Education Association. We believe it is a local control issue and support the bill.
Great. Thanks for coming by today.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman. Jeremy Bennett, Virginia School Boards Association. Strong supporter of this bill, and thank the patron.
Great. Thank you.
Barry Weinstein with the Federation of Teachers of Virginia. We support the bill. Thank you very much.
Thank you for coming by. Perfect timing, too. So Delegate Robinson and also Delegate Adams, thank you very much. Anyone here that has a different view on the bill, we're going to put you under the same clock.
Pretty fine.
Welcome.
Eric Terry, the president of the Virginia Restaurant, Lodging, and Travel Association. We have released studies in the past that looks at performance on this, and I think you all have seen that in the past, that it really has had no negligible impact. We do have an industry that is generating significant tax dollars and jobs creation, and this is a really critical time period for them to finish off the year, and so we would ask that you vote no on this bill. Thank you.
Thanks for coming by today. Yes, ma'am.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. Catherine O'Donnell from Richmond Region Tourism, representing Chesterfield, Hanover, Henrico, New Kent, and the city of Richmond. And for the reasons that Eric has already outlined, we oppose these bills.
Great. Thanks for coming by. Yes, ma'am. Welcome. Hey.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. I'm Susan Gaston on behalf of the Greater Williamsburg Chamber and Tourism Alliance, and we represent about 800 small businesses in the historic Triangle area, as well as promote year-round that the destination is a family-oriented, exciting place to be and continues to be a major source of our revenue. If I could just briefly offer that we remain advocates of keeping the current Labor Day law in order to preserve the position for our tax revenue in the localities that we represent. Let me offer you just a few sources of income. Our room revenue in August of 2017 was $24.4 million. Our meal revenues, $46.9 million. Our sales revenues, $221.5 million. That comes to $9.4 million a day. So losing the 2 weeks of tourism revenue is significant for our region and would equate to $132 million lost from mid-August up through the Labor Day weekend. That local tax revenue is then, of course, invested into our schools and into our public safety system, and we would appreciate your support of opposing the bill.
Mr. Chairman, can I ask one very brief question after we got those numbers?
Yes, Senator Suderline. Yeah.
How do those numbers compare now that Fairfax County, the largest school division in the Commonwealth, started earlier this year? Have we seen a huge impact, and should finance be concerned that we're not going to be getting that revenue?
I do not know the information about Fairfax County Schools, sir. I'm sure that someone can obtain those numbers, but speaking directly to the tourism impacts, I can continue to give you that information.
Great. Well, thank you very much. And we've got about, Senator, yes, sir, of course, Senator Locke. Yes.
Yes, ma'am. I can find out for you. Senator Locke can get that information to you.
Senator Locke, does that complete your questions? Okay, very good. For those, we've stopped the clock, but now we've just got about a few seconds. If you'd state your name and please don't read anything to us, but just state your name and your position. Thank you.
Okay, Candace Reed, representing the Hampton Roads Chamber, and we are in opposition of the bill.
Thank you for coming today. Yes, sir. You state your name.
John Easter, Chamber RVA, the regional chamber here in the Richmond area. We oppose the bill.
Great. Thanks for coming today. Yes. Hey.
Julia Carlo Hammond on behalf of the city of Virginia Beach, and we did see a dip, and I can get you those numbers.
Very nice. Perfect. Great. Good job, everyone. Okay, Rosalind, if you just have 15 seconds or so, if you want to wrap up, we're going to vote.
Well, the only thing I would add to this is you can see it's all that eastern shore, basically, area, Richmond and east, that always comes before us and says that. But there are many states that have beaches and tourism, and their kids do start before Labor Day, and they're still able to function, and they're still able to make it. And we'll also make that up, hopefully, over Memorial Day and in early weeks of June, so they won't see that tremendous loss, because they never give that comparison. So thank you.
Well, Dr. Robinson and Delegate Adams, thank you both for coming before us. We appreciate your time. Is there a motion on the bill?
Move to report.
All right, we're going to hear some comment.
Mr.
I
Chairman.
apologize. I had people that logged in. Let me go to Senator Lewis first, and then Senator Chase. Yes.
Mr. Chairman, I actually have a motion, so if someone wants to speak to it.
Okay, let's just wait just a second. So, Senator Chase.
Thank you. I like this bill so much. I co-sponsored. I have my own version in the Senate, and I just want to emphasize to you all who maybe don't have children in school right now. I still have two. The kids are not doing anything the last 2 weeks of school other than watching videos straight from the Chase boys. I think we need to change this. And if you look at how Delegate Roxanne Robinson has carved this out, it gives tourism what they need that weekend of Labor Day. So I want to make sure that we're on the same bill here. It's the best of both worlds. Our kids get instruction instead of sitting there watching TV the last 2 weeks of school. And you still also get to have your tourism on the Labor Day weekend. So I would encourage us to support this bill wholeheartedly. And I move that we report this bill and ask that you support it.
All right, Senator Lewis, was that your motion? Would you like to speak?
Mr. Chairman, I actually would have a substitute motion.
All right, what is your substitute motion?
My motion would be to carry over.
Okay. So you'd like to speak to that motion?
I'd like to speak to it
yes,
if I
sir.
could.
Senator Lewis.
If I could, Mr. Chairman. Thank you. Mr. Chairman, like the Menhaden, this issue visits us every year.
Sure does. And I'll be back.
And I applaud Delegate Robinson for this creative effort. And the only reason I am moving to carry over and not voting against is because I think the time has come that we have a solution to this problem, or this question, this issue. And we have two very important competing interests here. Certainly the tourism, we are a commonwealth, and certainly anything that inures to the benefit of the tourism industry eventually inures to the benefit of our public school system. And certainly in Hampton Roads, that's the case. But at the same time, I have people who are very passionate about public education, and they think this would really benefit, particularly in Norfolk, the public school system. So I have been assured, Mr. Chairman, by blood oath, that between now and the 2019 session, there will be a good faith effort on the part of the tourism industry in particular to reach some sort of consensus on this perennial perplexing or vexing issue. And so that is the source of my motion, Mr. Chairman, to carry.
Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Thank you, Senator Lewis. Senator Black.
First, I would second the motion, and my thanks to Delegate Robinson, who has done, I think, a great job with the bill. We do have the balancing act between the schools that some of which are genuinely having some sincere issues with this, and also with the areas of the state that rely very heavily on the tourism and so forth. I think there has got to be a solution to it, and I believe that if we carry this over for a year, perhaps we can come up with a solution and get this taken care of.
Okay, thank you, Senator. Senator Barker.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just speaking to the motion, I support the motion. A couple of points to make. One is that we had legislation several years ago and then action by the Department of Education that allows SOL tests to be given at any day during the school year. So regardless of whether the last day in the school year is in the middle of May or in the middle of June, you can give the SOL test on that last day. So there's no excuse for saying that we need to have school end earlier because of SOL tests. The SOL test decisions are made at the local level, and they can set those at any particular time. I would also say that of the states that have the highest rated educational systems, many of those states that are comparable to or slightly above Virginia in terms of overall performance, Massachusetts, New York, nearly all their schools do start after Labor Day. And in Maryland, which has been comparable to us, they are now moving to having schools largely start after Labor Day. And do so to be able to maintain the economy, and has seen no significant negative impact upon their student performances.
Thank you, Senator Barker. Senator Sudaline.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would suggest that the very fact that we've been discussing this for well more than a decade shows that it's not been a balancing act. We've allowed one specific industry to make this decision. I'm always reminded that when I got my committee assignments, and the very first call I got on me being on this committee wasn't from anyone in teaching or school boards or hospitals, which you would think would all care the most about this committee. It was the tourism industry that was first at my door to congratulate me on my assignment and to tell me about how great this law is. You know, with Fairfax starting this way, those kids are going to miss out on watching Animal House, which is what I did 15 years ago in our final weeks, which I still don't know how the English teacher got away with it. So those kids will really miss out. But it's not just on the SOLs. There's other tests that are very critical that there's not that flexibility for. And all this is trying to do is send it to the local school divisions to decide how to do it. And so, you know, we heard some remarks about carrying it over again. I think we ought to just have a straight up vote on report, and hopefully we'll finally pass, because I think Delegate Robinson has done everything she can to work with the folks and meet their concerns.
Great. Senator Sudaline, thank you very much. Senator Howe.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. Chairman, I'd also like to speak against the motion. We've been doing this for years and years. It will, in effect, be carried over once we have the recorded vote, because I can count. So it will be back next year as well. And I think at some point, we need to look at what's in the best interest of the children rather than what's in the best interest of special interests.
Thank you, Senator Howe. Senator Locke.
Senator Howell just took my remarks. Because I'm also going to vote against the motion, because at some point we have to think of what's in the best interest of children. I think that tourism is very important to our Commonwealth and to the economy of the Commonwealth. But at some point we have to think of what's in the best interest of our children and education of our children. And that is what is utmost important. And we need to look at the data and to see who's contributing to that economy in August. Is it out-of-state individuals, or is it the families of the children of this Commonwealth? Or is it people who are coming into the Commonwealth who are making these contributions? So, you know, I think that we're just being wrong-headed about this, and we need to support this legislation.
Thank you, Senator Locke. Next up, Senator Peterson.
Just very briefly on, I tell people that August is the new September if you're a school parent, because if your children are in high school and they play football, they play field hockey, cheerleading, they're going to have to be there in August anyway, okay? So they're going to be there in August anyway. The only difference is they're not going to class. They're sitting around, watching Price is Right during the day. So frankly, we're already forced to be home during August if you're a parent of a high school student. Secondly, and Senator Suderline mentioned this, Fairfax County Public Schools started a week early this year. And last time I checked, the Western civilization didn't come to an end. So I think this is already moving this way. The final point is, the House voted this out. The House delegates just went through an election cycle. This passed out 3-1 in the other body, okay? And they're already showing they're a little bit ahead of us on some issues. So this is going to happen anyway. I don't know why we're punting this to 2019. Maybe we need an election cycle to get this one right, but the bottom line is let's make this law now.
Thanks, Senator Peterson. Next up is Senator Carrico.
Mr. Chairman, just to give you some insight, my kids have always started in August. They still watch the movies. They still get out early because it's so hot. They still, it never changed anything, so I don't know that this bill would change anything either.
Great. Senator Chase, would you like to speak again? Okay. Yes, Senator Chase.
I just want to make one last comment. Every year, the AP and the IB tests are their federal tests that take place at the same time every year. We are disenfranchising Virginia students. I would actually like to make a substitute motion that we report this bill.
Yep. So procedurally, we can't get there because we've had a motion and substitute, so we're kind of stuck where we are. So we're going to have to show it on one and then the other. So next up is Senator Cosgrove, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Comments have been made about the special interests and out-of-state people benefits them more than Virginians. Coming from an area that's heavily dependent on tourism that pumps a lot of dollars into the Commonwealth's coffers, basically, this is a Virginia bill that benefits Virginia people who are employed by the tourism industry, whether it's at the Eastern Shore, whether it's the Virginia Beach, whether it's Old Town Alexandria, all through the Commonwealth. The arguments that the kids spend the last 2 weeks watching movies, it's not going to make any difference whether the last 2 weeks is in June or the last 2 weeks is in May or later. They're going to still watch the movies. The dates aren't going to make any difference. So I hope that we'll not accept the bill. Thank you.
Senator Cosgrove, thank you. Senator Donovan.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I hope I'm the last to speak because I know everybody's ready to move on, but I will simply say that I think the preponderance of the data, looking at both sides, speaks to not changing this law at this time. And until I see persuasive data that it is actually to the advantage of the kids, I believe everybody on this panel supports speaking in the best interest of the kids first. But I will go further to say I am perplexed why we discuss this every year when there are other variables that can alter the school year, including the school board's ability to change the length of their days. They can change the length of their days a very small amount and shorten the year and not have any movies at the end of the year and get everybody out sooner. So the idea that this is the single variable upon which all of these other things follow is a mistake, and I think we're spinning our wheels talking about something that's overly politicized. We need to look at the facts, and right now the facts support leaving the law in place.
Okay. Thank you, Senator Donovan. Senator Lucas.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I was a bit amused when Senator Suderline said that we've been debating this issue for the last decade, because there are those of us who've been debating it for 26 years.
3 decades.
And everything that needs to be said about this bill has been said, except that everybody hasn't said it, so I'm going to weigh in as well. And Senator Locke and I have had quite a number of discussions about this, and I let her break my arm one year and vote contrary to what I normally do. But for the last 25 years, I have voted to oppose this bill. And the reason I have done that is because when we talk about what's in the best interest of students, sometimes increasing the economy is also in the best interest of students. And so for that reason, I continue to oppose the bill.
Great.
I will be voting no.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much, Senator Lucas. Any other member? If not, just briefly, because I think I'm the only one that hasn't spoken.
Break it again.
Just briefly, as you know, I'm going to oppose it, but I want to make sure the audience understands a couple of things. One, we still have 180 days. There's not one child will get one more day with this, not one child will get one more day less without it. Number two is that we have in the budget for a bunch of these counties, almost all the, I mean, it's over half the counties in the budget for over 10 years. Senators on this panel and I put it in an absolute exemption. So there is that exemption. For the areas where there's other interest, it remains. Next is that if we aren't careful, a lot of the accommodations in this bill, which may not be desired in that other area, will come flooding into that area. So they may be needed for tourism, but not in the rest of the state. So I think that what I've understood from Senator Lewis and Senator Black is there a desire to work with those that have a contrary view to this bill and find a pathway forward. I would refer you to the budget as ways to do that. There for those areas, so there might be a way to do it in a similar way as we do currently in the budget. The motion and the second, that was a substitute motion, is that the bill be carried over for the year. All those in favor of the motion will record your votes aye. Those opposed, no. And the clerk will close the roll.
Ayes nay. Ayes 9, nays 0. 6. I'm sorry.
Ayes 9, noes 6. And Senator, thank you, Delegate, thank you for coming. Delegate Adams, thanks for coming.
I
Good
thank the
presentation.
committee
Have a great day.
for all the time in the debate. I appreciate
You're so
it.
welcome.
Thank you.
My pleasure. Okay, good. If the committee could now turn their attention to two bills. First is Delegate Ware's bill, which is 335. I don't know if there's any controversy about it. We just haven't seen it yet. So, Delegate Ware, would you like to tell us about 335?
I do, and it's very simple, as you suggest, Mr. Chairman. I do have, however, somebody I would like to note with us, a distinguished visitor. The head of the Jamestown-Yorktown Museums cumulatively is here with us. This name change would simply reflect actual usage, and the dramatic new museum, which has opened at Yorktown. I'm sure many of you either familiar with it or some of you probably been there. And this name change would recognize that. And so if you'd indulge me, Phil Emerson's here to
sure.
say hello. And
good.
He is
He'll hear
our
from him.
director.
Delighted. I think we're in good shape, but you're delighted to be here if you'd like to.
Glad to answer any questions.
Perfect. So we're going to, unless there's objection, there's a motion and a second that we change the name to American Revolutionary Museum, right?
Mr.
And,
Chairman.
Revolution Museum, sorry.
At
And that
Yorktown.
is at Jamestown also. Is that right? Is that what we're going to put
This
in?
is at
Mr.
Yorktown.
Chairman,
This is yours.
Mr. Chairman, I just want to speak so positively about this new museum. If you haven't yet taken your children to see it, do. It is an experience they'll never forget.
Any other comments
Mr.
about the
Chairman.
bill? Yes, Senator Cosgrove.
I'm going to support my good friend's bill here. But I just hate taking the word victory out of this because this is where Cornwallis crashed. And, I'm going to support the bill. But boy, I hate losing the victory center. So
Okay.
thank you.
Very nice. There's a motion and a second that the bill be reported. All those in favor record your votes aye. Those opposed, no. And the clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 15, nays 0.
Ayes 15, no 0. The bill is reported. Also, I think we have, thank you for coming by. We have Delegate Wilt. We're delighted to have you here. You have HB 1. We did have David, Senator Sutherland's bill that went through, and I think we're going to conform this bill and marry him up in conference. But we do want to just hear from you, and if you don't mind, we're going to have that motion, but we want to hear from you. We're going to get this done. It's just a matter of the tweaks on how. So there's a motion and a second that this bill, which is HB 1, be conformed to Senate Bill 512, Senator Sutherland's bill. All in favor, record your votes aye. Well, we'll say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. And it's conform. And Delegate Wilt, why don't you give us a primer? I think we like the bill and did on the floor, and then we'll move forward.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Committee members, I won't unduly impose on your time. You've heard the debate. You know the heart of the issue is protecting our students' most personal information. I know the senator has worked hard on the issue. There are some subtle differences that I also include in the students' information, their address, And also that the bill, HB1 is drawn to the personal records part of the code instead of the FOIA. So I appreciate the committee's time. Look forward to working in conference on it.
Well, Doug, we'll work this out. There were members on the floor and in the committee, it came through, I think, general laws before, but there was members that had some concerns about it, just to remind you of that. But there is a motion and a second that House Bill 1, as amended in the form of a substitute, be reported. All those in favor will record your votes aye. Those opposed, no. And the clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 15, nays 0.
Ayes 15, no 0. The bill is reported. Thank you for coming by today.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, committee members.
So, committee members, we are done for the day. Just FYI, we did do 40 bills today. What was the Stolly bill? Did we do that one? We've already done your bill. So, we do have many bills next week. We may have to go back to 8 o'clock next week. And if so, I think we can complete our work in the two meetings remaining. So we're allowed a little early today, but we'll have to work it out next week. All right, very good. With that, before he does that, the committee will rise.